Hey everybody, welcome to BrickVault. My name's Jack, and today we are going over a custom mock that was designed by my brother right here in the studio many years ago. But it's an awesome build, and I wanted to show it off for you. It's a custom version of the Settlers of Catan.
And real quick, for those that don't know what Settlers of Catan is, it's a German-designed board game. I think it was released back in 1995, and your basic objective is to settle an unknown land alongside other people, and you trade and cut people off and stuff like that. And if you can build fast enough and acquire the most points before anybody else, then you win. Long story short, it's highly addictive and a lot of fun, and I play it with my roommates all the time. Now, this was actually designed quite a long time ago by my brother, and at a certain point, it got shelved, and basically we kind of forgot about it until I was cleaning and moving stuff around in bins underneath the tables of the city. And when I found the broken down parts of this old Settlers game, it all kind of came back to me. Now, I'm not going to explain all the different rules of the game, but I will show off all the different hexagonal pieces that make up the board, and hopefully you guys will enjoy checking it out. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is that all these hexagon shapes are modular. The original design of the board like this always does have an ocean or a series of ocean pieces that surround the outside, but the different land formations on the interior switch around every single game. Now, there are 5 main resources in the game, and just like in the original Settlers, no 2 cards are exactly the same. This is supposed to reflect an actual naturally occurring area after all, so that makes sense. And let's just go through each resource. Here is wood, or these are the forest tiles that give you wood. And here we have different green and sand green cones that represent the trees. Some differ in height based on their trunks or just the land around them. And I believe one little tile even has a small area for a cabin in the woods. Next are the wheat fields that give you grain. So the fields are represented by the yellow cones. And then there's some smaller studs that kind of show some growing grain that comes in. And we even have a single tile that shows some haystacks, or at least I think those are supposed to be haystacks. Next up are the sheep tiles. They give you the resource of wool. So you can see in the micro version of these builds, the sheep are just made of the single black and white round studs. And we have some fences that are all resting on some nice green grassy hills. The micro builds for the sheep, I think, are some of my favorite bits of detailing on the board. And then the last 2 resources are a little bit more rare in the game. This is where we find our brick. So there's only 3 of the tiles. And as far as I can tell, this is sort of like clay mountains where people would mine out the proper material to make stuff that would create bricks. And to me, the piece that adds the most dimension to this area is the light red round plates that create sort of the ground that the mountains stand on. Makes everything pop a little bit more. Last of the resources are the mountains. They give you ore. And being perfectly honest, these are pretty basic builds. Not too much variation here, but the pyramid-like structure is relatively fluid. Now, in this game, there's also the desert piece. There's only one of these in the game. The original resting place for the robber. There you can see some builds for dunes, a palm tree, and the little tile is where you actually place the robber piece in the beginning of the game. Normally, the ocean in the game is made of some slightly larger parts, but due to the sort of convenience of this hexagonal shape, they've been turned into the ocean parts as well. So you either have the regular ocean tiles, which are pretty boring, or the ocean tiles that have the ports, which are, well, slightly less boring. Now, the original version of Settlers of Catan only has space for 4 players, or 4 different colors that represents each one. With the expansion, you do get space for 2 more players to play. So here are the 6 different colors that all the houses, cities, and roads have been built in. And following along with the simplicity of the micro style building that we have, this is a road, just a 1x3. The houses are 2x4, and the cities are just a little bigger, being 2x3 with that extra story. Personally, I think the base color of the houses would have looked a little bit better if they had come in tan or something like that, but I do think it is better for all the houses to have one base color, with the accent of the roof being the only thing that really represents different teams. So now that we're assembling all of the pieces together to create a completed playing board for starting a game, you'll notice that this isn't something that is entirely supposed to be 100% Lego that makes up the board. We still are using the number tile pieces that create sort of the statistical probability of dice rolling, and all of the resource cards and everything else that would be involved in the game is still 100% from a regular Settlers of Catan set. So you cannot just make this out of Lego and expect to play the game properly, or at least maybe you could, but you'd have to build a lot more pieces in order to do that. Now, there are some advantages to having a Lego Settlers of Catan board, sort of. I think the main reason why this was developed in the first place is that the initial cardboard or sort of stiffer paperback board pieces that are used for all the hexagon tiles from the original game eventually become warped, and the ocean pieces that keep the whole hexagon shape together often just kind of don't really fit that much anymore, and it becomes a little bit annoying trying to set up your board if it's an older one that has had a lot of use. So the idea was once we have this design in place, it's a little bit more strong and sturdy, and you don't have to worry too much about the parts separating out. Now, the unfortunate reality is this isn't strong enough. I think that's the reason why it was put into a bin for not necessarily parting down, but it was being preserved because we wanted to do a redesign. It just wasn't strong enough for our own taste. But I think the initial quality and the nicety of this board is you've made your own Settlers of Catan board, which is kind of a fun thing to do, you know, paying homage to like one of your favorite board games. It has a nice sort of beautifying quality. I especially like when the board's put together and you look at it from a low angle and you can see the mountains towering over the rest of the tiles, and you see a lot more depth in sort of the micro builds with some of the hills and trees and stuff like that. Now, we are nowhere near the first, second, third, or probably 10th people to have tried to build a Settlers of Catan board out of Lego, but it really is a fun game, and it's awesome having your own custom board to play with. In the future, a redesign for this would definitely come in the form of creating the hexagons a little bit more structurally sound so they don't break apart too easily, and also making the connection points of the water tiles just a little bit stronger so the board you can sort of slide around as a whole once it's put together. Also, I think maybe leveling out a section in the middle for the number tiles to all lay flat would be a good idea. And who knows, there's probably a few other things that I'm totally not even seeing right now, and I might end up seeing from comments from you guys in the comment section below. But I thought this would just be a fun video to share something that is truly like hidden within the vault. This was something that we didn't realize we had, or I'd totally forgotten that we had because it wasn't something I designed, and it was just sitting in a bin sort of undisturbed for several years, and it definitely brings sort of the vault part of BrickVault into our name. That's at least what I was thinking when I first rediscovered it.
All right, that is it for this episode, everybody. Thanks a lot for watching. Remember, if you enjoy our content, you can always like or subscribe, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault.